In 1975, in a quiet room lit by nothing more than the dim glow of a lamp, a young Freddie Mercury sat at his piano, sketching fragments of a song that would defy every convention of rock music. He carried notebooks filled with scribbles, cryptic phrases, and sketches of melodies, as if the ideas were tumbling from a place beyond the ordinary. Friends and bandmates would later recall that Freddie already saw the piece not as a song but as a miniature opera, something grand and mysterious. Guitarist Brian May said, "Freddie had this habit of writing in odd bits of paper, things that didn't seem to connect. And then one day they all came together, and suddenly you understood. It was extraordinary." The fragments Freddie carried for years, pieces of a ballad, a mock operatic section, and a thunderous rock outro, began to crystallize into what would become Bohemian Rhapsody. He had been testing some of those lines as far back as the late 60s, when he lived with Mary Austin, his lifelong confidant. On his battered upright piano, placed backwards against the wall so he could hear the resonance, he built the architecture of the piece like a composer writing a symphony. Mary later recalled, "He was in there for hours. He would play the beginning over and over, then stop and write something down, then start again. It wasn't just a song, it was his vision." The band didn't immediately grasp what Freddie was aiming for. John Deacon, the bassist, thought it was almost too strange. Roger Taylor, the drummer, once joked, "We thought, well, this is going to be a nightmare to record, but we loved it because it was Freddie, and Freddie's madness was glorious." Yet when Freddie presented the full skeleton of the track during rehearsals, they realized they were dealing with something unheard of. The piece was 6 minutes long at a time when radio singles rarely exceeded 3. It shifted from piano balladry to operatic absurdity, from choral arrangements to thunderous hard rock before fading into a tragic conclusion. In August 1975, Queen entered Rockfield Studios in Monmouth, Wales, to begin recording. The sessions would become legendary for their intensity. They used 24-track technology to its limits, layering voices upon voices, bouncing between machines until the tape itself began to wear thin. Freddie, Brian, and Roger recorded their vocals for up to 12 hours a day, building choirs of harmonies. "We wanted to sound like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir," said Brian May. In fact, some sections contained as many as 180 overdubs. Roger Taylor recalled with a grin, "The tape was almost transparent by the time we finished with it. You could see through it, that's how much we pushed it." The operatic section was pure Freddie. Nonsense words like Scaramouche and Galileo weren't chosen at random. They reflected his love for theatricality, opera, and playful mysticism. "It was just one of Freddie's whims," Roger Taylor said later. "He loved words that sounded powerful, exotic, and mysterious." When asked what the lyrics meant, Freddie was always evasive. "It's one of those songs which has such a fantasy feel about it," he told an interviewer. "I think people should just listen to it, think about it, and then decide what it means to them." The mystery only added to the aura. The production was as ambitious as the writing. Producer Roy Thomas Baker remembered Freddie sitting at the piano one evening saying, "I've got a song that's got everything in it. It goes from ballad to opera to rock." Baker thought he was joking until Freddie started to play. The recording took 3 weeks, with the operatic section alone consuming most of that time. Freddie demanded perfection, drilling every detail. He had no interest in compromise. When it came time to release the track, the record company executives balked. 6 minutes? Radio would never play it. EMI and even Queen's management tried to persuade them to trim it down. Freddie refused. He insisted it had to be released whole or not at all. Their manager, John Reed, took an advance copy to London DJ Kenny Everett. Everett fell in love with it and mischievously played it 14 times over a single weekend, despite being told not to. The audience response was electric. Within weeks, Bohemian Rhapsody was released as a single on October 31st, 1975, and it shot to #1 in the UK, staying there for 9 consecutive weeks. The accompanying video, filmed at Elstree Studios, cost just a few £1,000 and was shot in 4 hours. At the time, promotional music videos were not common, but Queen used the medium to sidestep television appearances. That video, with the band's faces lit against black, multiplied into a chorus of shadows, became as iconic as the song itself. Brian May later reflected, "People say we invented the music video. We didn't, but we showed what it could do." Critics were initially divided. Some praised its audacity, others called it pretentious. The New Musical Express sneered at its operatic extravagance. Yet the public embraced it wholeheartedly. For many, it was unlike anything they had ever heard. Freddie had taken rock, opera, and ballad and fused them into a seamless narrative, a journey of emotion. Brian May said, "We didn't know if people would get it, but they did. They really did." As the years passed, Bohemian Rhapsody became more than a song. It became a cultural touchstone. In 1991, following Freddie Mercury's death, it was re-released and once again reached #1 in the UK, making it the only song to top the charts in the same form twice. In the United States, its legend was reignited by its unforgettable appearance in the 1992 film Wayne's World, where characters headbang to the operatic climax in a beat-up car. That scene introduced the track to a new generation, propelling it back into the Billboard Hot 100, where it climbed to #2. The song's impact only deepened with time. In 2004, it was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. In 2018, the biopic Bohemian Rhapsody brought the song back to the center of global culture. The film grossed over $900 million worldwide, and the song itself broke streaming records, becoming the most streamed song from the 20th century. For younger listeners, it was as fresh and radical as it had been in 1975. And yet, the aura of the song lies not only in its success, but in its mystery. What was Freddie really saying? Was it a confession, a metaphor, a theatrical game? Some have argued that the lyrics reflect Mercury's inner struggles with identity and guilt. Others see it as a playful pastiche, a deliberate experiment in form. Brian May himself has said, "Freddie never explained it. He said it was just rhyming nonsense, but of course it meant a lot more to him than he was willing to reveal." That ambiguity keeps listeners returning, generation after generation, searching for answers in its shifting voices and moods. The song remains a testament to Freddie Mercury's genius and the band's fearless ambition. Few artists would have dared to create something so uncommercial, so strange, and insist on releasing it unchanged. Yet Queen did, and in doing so, they redefined what a rock single could be. Today, nearly 50 years later, when those first notes sound, is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? An audience of thousands will sing as one, their voices rising in reverence, their faces illuminated by the glow of the stage lights. Brian May once reflected on that magic. The amazing thing about Bohemian Rhapsody is that it still works. It still makes people feel something they can't quite put into words. That's the ultimate achievement. And Roger Taylor added simply, "It was just us being us, and Freddie being Freddie. There'll never be another." The aura of Bohemian Rhapsody is not only in its structure, or its lyrics, or its performance. It's in the way it resists definition, the way it turns listeners into participants of a ritual. It's a 6-minute journey into uncertainty, joy, tragedy, and transcendence. Half a century on, it continues to stand outside of time, a monument to risk, vision, and genius. And as the 50th anniversary approaches, one cannot help but wonder if a song like this could be born once, in a small studio in 1975, what else lies within the imagination of artists today, waiting to be unleashed, waiting to change the world? So here's the final question, the hook that has echoed for 50 years. Every time you hear it, when you sing it at the top of your lungs or whisper it to yourself in silence, you have to decide, is this the real life, or is this just fantasy?